We are actually going to try to create a very simple logo at the end of this particular tutorial. So we are going to set a new document of 5000 by 4000 pixels and a resolution of 300, and we are going to click on create. Now, to write within or around a text, it basically requires you to follow a path. So the first thing you want to do, the first thing that needs to come to your mind when you want to write around a circle or inside a circle is you are going to need a path. And to create that, Photoshop has provided you with two most basic things. For all of the shapes here, you can actually convert that into a path. So for instance, if you select the ellipse tool, which is the circle, and of course which is what we are going to use for this particular project, when you go to the mode over here, we have three basic modes. We have the shape, the path, and then the pixel. So for instance, if you take the shape, when you create, it is going to give you auto filled colors. It is going to fill it according to your foreground color, but you realize from here that when you select the path, it is not going to give you any filled selection. Instead, it is going to give you a path, a trend to follow to create anything that you want to create with it. So this is what we're going to use for this illustration. So for instance, if you take the ellipse tool and then we create a path like this, any path at all like that, and then we can actually go for our text tool and then we can start writing on it. So the text basically is going to follow the path that you've created. So for instance, if I pick my text tool and I make sure that I start here and my alignment is in the middle, it means that any text that I put in here is going to follow this particular trend. So you can see that how to write around a text, so something basic like this one. Now once you have this, you can select it all and then you can increase it using the font size over here. You can change your text or your font type, and then you can change the color also from here, as simple as that. So basically that is how you write around a circle, so something simple like this. But in our instance, how do we actually use this in a real-time project? So we are going to select the rounded rectangle here. Let's assume that we want to create a very simple logo full of circles. So we go for the circle or the ellipse tool, and then we are going to select shape for the first time. We are going to create a very simple shape like this, and then we can make sure that it is centered. And let's say this is our logo, but we want the text around of this particular shape. So what we can do is, first of all, let's go to the view and add some guides over here. So we are going to add about 50% horizontal guide, and then we are going to add another 50% vertical guide. So just to make sure that we are in the center, because literally when you are creating a logo, you have to make sure that alignment is very important. So once we have this, what we can do next is we can go back to the shapes. We select the same ellipse tool, but this time around at the mode, we are not going to use the shape, we are going to use the path over here. So one thing you can use to get a perfect path or a perfect shape is when you hold shift and then alt together. So let's start from the middle here, hold shift and alt together, and then we can drag like that. So we are going to create, so we want it around the shape, so we are going to make sure that the path goes around or outside of the actual shape that we've created. So something like this will be fine. And once we have this, we can then go ahead and pick our text tool, for instance like this, and we are going to make sure that let's use the same color over here. Now you can actually start from anywhere that you want to type, but basically if you are using the center aligned here, it is very advisable that you start from the middle so that your text will be just in shape. For instance, if you start from here like this, you realize that your text goes according to where you started. Okay, so let's undo this and then choose the text tool again, and if you start from here, this is how your text goes around. So how to type around a text, a circle, sorry, so a circle like that. And then once you click OK over here, you realize that your text has been wrapped around your circle in a very easy way. Now, like I said earlier, you can easily make changes to this text because it creates a separate layer for you, and that means the layer is on its own, so you can add any changes to this particular one. Now, how about if you want the text within the circle that you've created? So let's quickly hide this particular text here, and let's go back to our ellipse. And this time around, what we're going to try to do is we are going to open it up some more, so something bigger like this. and then make sure that it is centered, so centered like that. And then we are going to make a duplicate, so Ctrl J to make a duplicate and try to close it up, something like this. And then we are going to change the color to white. So we are going to make one more duplicate by pressing Ctrl J, and then we can hold Alt to close it up very nicely like this. And then we are going to change this particular color also to the main color that we are using, so something like that. Let's make this a little bit bigger like so. So this time around you realize that we want our text in here at where we have the white space instead of around the whole text, for instance. So what we're going to do from here is that we can add a new layer on top of this. Go for the ellipse tool again, and this time around you are going to use the path like we've explained earlier, and then you bring it to the center, you hold Alt and then Shift, and then you can create a very perfect circle like this, but this time around it is going to be a path, and something like this should be fine. And then you have your path over there. So what you do from here is you go and pick your text tool, and then you can come over here at this very beginning or the start point, and then you can start typing how to type around a circle. So you realize from here that this particular font is too much, or the font size is too big, so we are going to try to reduce it, at least when it gets to where we have the line over here. That is pretty much one of the reasons why we added the guidelines. So we are going to decrease the font over here like that till it gets to the line that we created, and then you can use your arrow keys to bring it down like this, and I think this should be fine. So yeah, basically that is how you create a text around a circle. But you realize that for most logos, when you're done creating something like this, we have one more text at the bottom that says that something like established or anything that you want to put there. So let's quickly look at how to do that, how to flip the text to the very bottom. Okay, so the first thing you need to do in this instance is you're going to make a duplicate of this particular same type that you've made over here, and then you are going to hide the first one. So the duplicate is this one, so we are going to hide this particular one, and we are going to work with this particular text. Now let me zoom in over here, and at this point I'm going to really take my time because it can be sometimes confusing. Now you realize that we are working with a path. So with a path, what we can do over here is we can go and select the selection over here, or the path selection tool over here, and then you realize from here that when you put your cursor here, it changes to a new type of icon, and when you put it here, to a new type of icon. So what this basically means is that you can change the direction of where your text is moving. So for instance, I can drag my text like that. You see that the text is moving around like that, so I can drag it to this particular point, let's say something like this, and now you see that the text has been totally flipped like that. Okay, so this is how it's actually looking like. But though it is flipped, it is still upside down. So what we can do next again is we can go for the path selection tool, and when you bring your cursor to this particular point, you can drag it upwards like that, and automatically it is going to flip it upside down. So now we can hold Control and easily or simply try to bring our text down over here. Now you realize that in most cases the text that is put around the bottom is not as many or as lengthy as the one that is on top, so we can easily edit this too. And now we can select this text and we can try to decrease the size so that it wouldn't look like it is too opened up to something like this. Now once we're done with this, we can then go back and select our text here, and now you see that we have a complete how to type around a circle logo. Now when you turn off these guidelines, you see that this is the current logo that we are having. So we can basically just add anything, just a random things to make this look like a real-time logo. So I actually downloaded these shapes from Google, so I'll try and leave links to download that as well. So I got these particular shapes over here. So what we can actually add is, and now let me pass this on. When you are designing logos, it is basically shapes, nothing more, nothing like a layer, an actual layer or an image actually, you should basically use all shapes. That is why I'm using shapes all around. And now you realize that still we are in a path mode, but this time around we are going to create an actual shape, so we don't need a path. So you are going to select the shape over here, and then you can create your shape nicely like this, and then automatically it will be there. So we are going to give it a color like white, and then you click OK, and you take your time to position it over here. Like I said, alignment in logo design is very important. So we can go and add one more shape over here. So you choose any one of the shapes that you want. So let's go for something like this one, and then we are going to, now when you hold shift right now and then you create the shape, it is going to merge with this one. So what we can do is we can add a layer over here and try to create this shape separately from this one. Now the downside to this is that you're going to take a lot of time to adjust to make sure that all of them are on the same line. So what I can basically do is I can change the color to white, and then I can bring it on top here and make sure that that's aligned with the first one that we created. So something like that, and it's fine. And then I can drag it to its side, so somewhere around here. And now we can go ahead and add two more type of shapes like this to the logo. And now this is how it currently look like. So when we take off the guides, this is how we actually look like. So that means that we need something to replace the guides. So we are going to select the rectangle tool over here and create a very simple basic rectangle like this. So something like that we do, and then we are going to give it a color white like that, and then we can actually try to position it in the middle like this. That is going to replace the guides that we added. So we can press Ctrl H to hide the guides like this, and now we can see what we're actually having. We make a duplicate by pressing Ctrl J, and then we can press Ctrl T, right click, and then flip it 90 clockwise, and this is exactly what we having. So basically we just created a very simple logo. You can basically take your time to make sure that the alignment looks fine, and then the positioning of the text, and then the one at the bottom also looks very fine for something like this. And by this you can create a very simple basic logo. And mind you, this isn't an actual logo, it was something that just came out of my mind when I was trying to create this particular tutorial. But if you take your time to sketch your logo properly, you can actually come out with something better than this one. And I believe by the help of this tutorial you're going to be able to write around a circle in your future project. I hope you gained value out of this video. If you did, subscribe to the channel, will be so very much appreciated. Thank you so very much for sticking around to watch this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.